Hello, welcome back to the journey. My name is Deani and this is
Crystal McGriff.
and it is truly a pleasure to have one of my sisters as a guest on the journey. I hope that you enjoy her as much as I do on the daily, and I just appreciate God for sending her in my life and being such a great role model, such a great sister, and I thank Him for allowing this relationship to thrive in my life. So I want to share just a glimpse of that with you. So today, one of our topics will be miscarriage. And Crystal has walked through this experience, and I think that she's able to share her experience in the spirit and in the natural. So, Crystal, could you tell us your story? Just how you want to, just flow.
Amen. And it's funny, we're actually having this time of discussion because I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she lost her mother around this time. So, she was telling me she was going out of town to, she said, if I'm going to cry, I might as well be on the sandy beach somewhere. So
Okay.
I'm like, amen. But it just reminded me of being thankful for where God has brought me in this year. Because shortly after she lost her mother is when I had the miscarriage. Mm-hmm. So I had the miscarriage in October, so I'm coming up on a year, which has put me in a place of reflection, for mm-hmm. sure. Mm-hmm. So just rewinding back to when everything happened, I found out I was pregnant in September. Mm-hmm. Super excited. I was really excited. Mm-hmm. We both were. And, weeks went by. We did the normal things, trying to figure out our little announcements mm-hmm. and posting our announcement and thinking about baby names, all that kind of stuff. And then closer to my appointment, I was going to get a checkup. And, during that time, we get the text space, and they're like, all right, we want you to follow up, in another week or so. And we're like, all right. I mean, first pregnancy, so I'm like, that's right. That's a little weird, but okay, we'll follow up. And I just start feeling weird after that. Slightly discouraged, but not really, because I didn't really know what was going on. Mm-hmm. But then I can really start feeling my body start to do some strange things, and then, within a day or two, I had miscarried the baby. Mm-hmm. And I was at home during the time, and man, you talking about feeling alone. Like, my husband was home with me, mm-hmm. but during the time he was asleep, mm-hmm. I was up because I was in so much pain. Mm-hmm. We have our menstrual cramps. Some people have extreme ones, some people have okay ones, mild ones, yeah, the worst mm-hmm. that I've ever felt. And so my whole night was just balled up on the couch in pain, not really knowing exactly, what was going on. I had an idea, mm-hmm. but it wasn't reality until it for real happened when I went to the bathroom, and I was just in shock. Mm-hmm. I literally just kind of stood there in shock for a minute. And even it was a point where he woke up and he came out, and I just stood there and I just looked at him, and then I just kind of broke down in his arms, and we went to the hospital, did all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's something that you never forget. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely a tough time. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, a few people came by. I didn't really want to be bothered with too many people, and our parents came by, maybe a cousin or two, Mm-hmm. And during that first week, I was actually okay, mm-hmm. better than expected. I was able to throw a couple of jokes in there. Mm-hmm. My spirits was okay. But man, after, I think it was towards the end of that first week, I had a meltdown. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, done. Didn't
What
even
happened?
bother.
You just woke up one day and it was just like hitting you?
I think I think I woke up one day and it really just hit me what happened. And I'm just like, I was done. I really don't even know how to explain it. It was just like your mood, your attitude, your emotions just completely changed. And, you know, some people will say because, you know, your body is, your hormones and all that is changing because of what happened. But, I mean, it was just a shift. And from that point on, I was kind of on a roller coaster ride. You know, some days I was okay, some days I wasn't. But for the most part, I didn't want to be bothered with people. You know, I just wanted to keep to myself, which looking back, it didn't necessarily help because you already feel alone. Like I said, even though my husband was there, I felt very, very alone.
Like alone, like nobody knew how you were feeling, or like how?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay.
I mean, even when you have people trying to encourage you, you know, I had situations where, you know, I had people tell me, you know, which is another interesting thing. You feel alone, right? But man, when you learn how many people don't talk about it, I mean, people I never expected, never knew, were telling me they had a miscarriage.
Wow.
And I'm just like, for real? Like it was like one or two people I knew did, but you know, other people just start coming out the woodworks, like, you know, it's gonna be okay, da da da. And it's like, even in that, like I said, you still kind of feel alone though, because depending on what the situation was with them, you still feel like, at least I can speak for myself and say, but you know,
but this is your life now,
exactly.
But this isn't you right now, so
right, because you know, I did seek guidance from, you know, some spiritual leaders, and you know, one of the things they wanted me to do was to reach out to another sister whom, you know, I know, good friends with, who also had a miscarriage. And honestly, at the time, I wasn't feeling it because she had a miscarriage, but from what I knew of her story, she had a miscarriage after she already had a child. So in my eyes, I'm like, well, she already got a baby.
Like, it's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing, you know? And so it was challenging for me. And I think because I felt so alone, that really had a lot to do with how I was handling everything. So yeah, you have people trying to encourage you, and you know, people try to give their condolences, and some people don't do so hot, but
all right, so that leads us to the next thing. Tell us about the people who didn't do so hot. Tell us about what not to say. Tell us about some of those things.
Okay.
Like what not to say, and then follow it up by like how it could have been handled with what could have been said, or you know, what should a person as a friend be saying? What should we be staying away from? With this person in our situation, if we've been through it or if we have not been through it, like give us those different perspectives.
Okay, and I'll have to speak from just my perspective because not everybody is the same.
Right, we want to give this disclaimer. She's not saying that she's the doctor of this.
Absolutely
this is
not.
The only way for it to work, but we only can go from her experience and what worked for her in this situation. So
for me, and I'm a very different person because I think I have more patience for people and their attitudes and their behaviors than the average person. Because I can get into stories, even things I hear even now from people. And if I did not love the Lord, I would really shut some people down. Seriously.
Disclaimer: we're gonna be real on this part of the journey.
I'm gonna come back to that, but I have to fast forward because people really don't realize the things that they say, and it helps me to remain mindful of people's life story because we don't know their life story. you know? And so it just reminds me to be mindful of what you say to people. And not to tippy-toe around everything, but you don't know what people are going through. Mm-hmm. And so just an example, just a couple of weeks ago, we went to the hospital. We had a new niece, me and my husband, went to go visit the new niece in the family. Mm-hmm. And I ran into an old teacher from high school. Mm-hmm. And so as I run into her, saying hi and everything, she was like, do you have any kids? And I was like, no, not yet. She was like, oh, good. You should just wait and do what you want to do. And this is not the first time mm-hmm. that I have heard that. I hear that often. Wow. Often. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if people don't realize how old I am. Not that that's a factor anyway, because right. Whether I was 29 or I was 23, if I wanted a child, it wouldn't matter. Right. So, but people say some interesting things, and I've heard that multiple times, like, oh, you should wait, good. You don't want no kids right now, da-da-da-da, and, I sit there, mm-hmm. I nod, I smile, and I just keep it moving, because if I really say what I want to say, mm-hmm. the Lord may not be glorified. Amen.
And that's just keeping it real. We want to give him the glory. So, do you think if you had not had a miscarriage, what they were saying would be appropriate or offensive? Like, what do you think?
I still honestly don't think it would be really appropriate. Mm-hmm. And that's simply because even without the miscarriage, like,
what if you have been trying?
Right, what if I've been trying and it hasn't been happening, mm-hmm. So, just word to the wise, be mindful of what you say to people, because you may have good intentions, mm-hmm. but it may not always be taken that way,
Right. It may not always be that person's perspective. Mm-hmm. So say this teacher has a child or something, or they had them, and it could be vice versa. So they don't know what you're going through, and you don't know their story either. Exactly. So say she had a child at a young age, and so she was robbed of her youth, and she had to be a grown-up probably quicker than she wanted to. So to her, it's like, good, don't jump into it and things like that. So we just have to be mindful of what we're saying. Like she was saying, don't tippy-toe around everything you're saying, but just be mindful. Some stuff you can just keep to yourself. And one of the things that will be best is to have the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost will let you know, like, and don't say that. Or, the Holy Ghost will unction you with exactly what to say. But Crystal is also going to give us some help with what we should be saying.
Right, so backtracking.
Okay.
So, and another thing I found interesting, too, is you don't always find comfort in their encouragement that people mean to give you from people who had the experience. Mm-hmm. Because I think, again, everybody has different levels. Mm-hmm. And when you are on different levels, you have different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I knew somebody who had 2 miscarriages before, mm-hmm. They had a child. I had another person who was trying to encourage me. She was like, oh, I had so many miscarriages before I had my children. And when you first have a miscarriage, that is not... that is not what you want to hear. Because automatically, having that first one, just the thought of being pregnant again and possibly having another one is
too much.
Too much.
So you saying this
too much? Exactly. So when you have somebody meaning to encourage you, but only really kind of instilling fear, mm-hmm. That can be a challenge. Yeah. Because people mean well. Okay. Same thing. Another thing I went through was, so my sisters and brothers in Christ, want to encourage you, and some people, oh, maybe it just wasn't in the Lord's will, or
Dang. Okay.
I've heard that, and
how'd you feel about that?
Hitting you with the quote unquote scriptures, and
that wasn't it either.
That wasn't it either. Okay. I have to be 100% honest. I did not want cookie cutter scriptures as encouragement.
Like what? Give us one example.
I'm really trying to.
We can come back to it.
We're gonna try to come back to that.
Okay.
But just the.
You didn't want cookie cutter
I didn't want
scriptures.
cookie cutter. I didn't want cookie cutter condolences.
Mm-hmm. Beating around the bush.
Beating around the bush. I didn't want that either. The best response I got from people, one, was when people literally just kept it so real, and it was, man, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to say. If somebody said that to me,
mm-hmm.
that helped me way more than somebody who hit me with a cookie cutter scripture.
Okay. We just saying what works for Crystal.
Just saying what works for Crystal. And then just being good company. When it first happened, I didn't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want people to ask me questions and all that kind of stuff. It was nice just to have you come over, sit down, watch TV, and laugh with me. That's all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how long did you feel like before you could even just like verbalize what you were feeling? Like, was it after you felt like you were coming out of a ditch, or like what? At what point through the process did you feel like, okay, maybe I can talk about it?
So, between the first week or two, I could talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not detail, but basics. As far as talk about it in depth, probably months, honestly. Because like I said, I was kind of okay in the beginning, and then I just really went into, I guess it's fair to say, a state of depression, because it would be days I would just want to lay in the bed. I wouldn't want to go anywhere. I actually had a period of time to where I felt anxiety knowing I was going to be around a lot of people. Like, I didn't want to go to church because it was going to be a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And just the thought of being around multiple people at once literally just terrified me.
Did it feel like people would be all looking at you, ready to ask you questions, or like judging your situation? Like,
I think it was a little bit of that, as well as I just didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want the opportunity for people to ask me questions and be in my face. I just wanted to be in my own space.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how was that for your husband?
Let's bless his soul. Lord bless my husband. Oh my God. I am so thankful for my husband.
Amen.
Because I put him through this past year.
Amen.
And that's just being honest. It was some days I know he felt helpless because there's nothing he can do. Mm-hmm. But just kind of watch and pray and just be there. So I remember I did have a conversation with towards the time when it first happened, because like I said, I'm just emotionally all over the place. Mm-hmm. And so I took some time, had to step back a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I'm all over the place, but this was his child too. Mm-hmm. So, I had to take that time to actually talk to him and see how he was doing, and for a while he didn't really, know how to take it either. Mm-hmm. Of course it's different because, a child is growing inside of, a woman, but, for the man, it's kind of a little more distant, but, he was really trying to process it too. Mm-hmm. But I think the hardest part for him was
seeing me,
mm-hmm. In the state that I was in. And so, I truly thank God for him, because I really put him through. But he has been just such a help, such a blessing, such just a rock for our family.
Amen.
And continues to pour out that encouragement and speak those words of life. And, that's just a blessing. for me, and I'm so thankful for him.
Amen. So, and I think that starts with allowing God to choose your spouse, not you. So, before the foundation of the earth, God knew us, and He knew everything about us, and He knew what we would go through in life, and He knew who we would marry. So, allowing God to choose who your spouse is, God knew that they would go through this period, and God knew that her husband would be able to handle it, whether he knew it or not, whether she knew it or not. I'm sure, is there any way you can prepare for something like this?
No.
Okay, so I'm sure they weren't able to prepare for it. I'm sure they didn't know how they would react if this was a situation. I'm sure many people in life, we walk through life and we don't just think, oh, what would happen if I had a miscarriage? We don't think like that. We automatically assume, when I get pregnant, this is going to happen, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to be like that. But I think the foundation should be how God chooses your life. So the fact that she allowed God to choose her husband. Can you give us a little bit of that about how you allowed God to choose your husband?
Indeed, the Lord did choose my husband. We went to the same church, hung out in the same groups. A lot of times we went out in group outings. Didn't really know too much about him. I would see him around. The things I did notice about him, just in passing, that he was a gentleman. Always, we had some ladies in the church that had children, and I would always see him opening the doors for the ladies. For the mothers that were single mothers. I would see him helping, take the kids to the car, strap them in, and he was. I noticed that he was a gentleman. And that stood out. And also his worship, man. It is something sexy about a man who loves to worship. Like,
amen.
I love to see men worship. It says so much about them. But yeah, God did that because I wasn't looking for anybody. I was way content with just being in the house of the Lord and serving. And that just kind of crept up, He asked me out one day. I felt tricked. Because I thought it was another group outing, I texted him the next day, like, wait a minute. So are other people coming, or is it just us? But, after we went off that first time, we just, our friendship began to grow because we hung out. We would go down to the Riverwalk. We would just sit down there. We'll read the word. We'll talk.
Amen.
And it was just a chill time. We enjoyed spending time together, just hanging out. Like I said, being in the word. A lot of our dates, we would go out, go bowling, go to the movies, whatever it was. But at the end, we'll end up sitting in the car. We'll be talking, and we've had a little shout fest in the car.
Amen. Amen. That's what you want from a husband.
Exactly. So. God, I really do believe God set that up because even when I realized that it was getting a little more serious, I wasn't sure I was ready for that. I'm like, Lord, it was some praying and some fasting and
amen,
consecrating and all of that.
Amen. That's awesome.
But then, God gave me peace in knowing that was my husband. That's what I was praying for. Like, because we both have parents who've been divorced. And that was something we definitely did not want to, experience. We were like, once married, only married, this one last time. I know that's right. This first time is the last time.
Be on the same page. Be on the same page.
So, so that was important for me because, I wasn't feeling the divorce thing. Having my parents go through it, I know how it can be on children and just in general. So that was important for me, and so I prayed, and the Lord finally gave me peace with His word, and His word to me was, He loves you as Christ loves the church.
Amen.
And so when I got that, I dust off my little praying knees, and I was like, okay, I won't ask you again.
Amen. Amen. So God chose her husband for her, and that was very important, and they started the foundation of their relationship with Christ and on Christ and followed all the way through and are still doing it today. So I think that's one of the things that relates to this topic as well. as related to any tragedies within life, because we just don't know what will happen. But allow God to choose your life story, your love story, whatever story your life will have. Let God choose it. So I think that's awesome. I think that's so awesome. Like we are so thankful for that, because they are truly a role model. I'm sure we don't like to be in that position where we have to go through things and be that role model. Like, I'm sure we don't sign up for these experiences, but through them, even with her feeling like she just was on a roller coaster, she was still being a role model because she still clung to God. All right, so as the months went on, let's get back to the story. We took a pause break to give God the glory for putting this relationship together, but we also want to continue on with the story. So as the healing process, as you said, is coming up to a year, but as the process continued to go, can you tell us about where you are now, and even if you feel like describing some of your lowest points, or how about, let's start with this. What would you tell someone right now who has experienced what you have experienced is in the early stages, or even in the upcoming year? I mean, you can't really articulate that much because it's only a year for you. But what would you say to someone in this similar situation?
I would say, one, it does get better. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but it does get better. Also, take advantage of, if you have people in your life who truly love you, take advantage of that and let them love you. Don't push them away. Just let them love on you. And if you have a relationship with God, Jesus Christ,
yes, Lord,
I know it can be a challenging time, but if you only have a little bit of faith to hold on to that little bit of faith. Because I did hit a time, a moment where I was like ready to just do whatever. I was done. I was like, seriously? I was like,
let's talk about that. How you felt about God, towards God, as a Christian woman. Let's talk about, okay, so how long have you been saved up to this point?
It's been, I'd say, 2011. Okay. So it's been somewhere 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Yeah. Amen. So you have been saved for about 4 or 5 years at the time when it had happened, and you felt like you were solid in God, right?
Man, God will show you where you at.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about how you felt. Tell us.
He will show you where you're at. Okay. Let me tell you. So, man. So at first I'm like, all right, God. Like, man, I know you love me. It's hard, though. This is hard. This is rough. I don't know why you would let this. Really, though, I think the hardest thing for me was acknowledging that I was angry at God. I was in denial. And I think that's probably what drug out a lot of my depression and how I was feeling, and just being in that process of bouncing back, because I was in denial. Because I know you're not supposed to be angry at God. I know you're not supposed to curse God. I know you're not supposed to, do those things. So even though in my heart I was just so broken and upset and bitter and angry, all of these emotions were brewing, but I wouldn't acknowledge them because
you're not supposed to feel like that.
You're not supposed to feel like that. I was embarrassed. And so